After a clip of Sheldon Keefe yelling at Michael Bunting and it appearing like he was not interested in what Sheldon Keefe had to say went viral on Leafs social media, Michael Bunting and Sheldon Keefe finally speak out regarding the incident as well. Noel Acciari announced out for Wednesday night's matchup against the Florida Panthers with an undisclosed injury. What happened with Noel Acciari? What went down between Bunting and Keefe? And how does this lineup shake out moving forward? What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome back to Leafs Digest. First and foremost, before we get into today's topics, I just want to remind people, if you are new to this channel and you're watching this one, you haven't hit subscribe here yet, please make sure to do so. We're trying to get to 5,000 subscribers before the playoffs. At this point, we only got 9 games left, so time is getting tight. We need to get those subscribers in. There's about 50% of viewers on this channel on a regular basis who are not subscribed to this channel. So if you're watching right now, you haven't hit subscribe, please make sure to do so as well. You can like this video, comment below, let me know what your thoughts are as we break this down, your thoughts on the Keefe Bunting situation, your thoughts on the Acciari injury, and how the Leafs might have to handle things down the stretch as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. But with that being said, let's get into today's topics, and we will start first and foremost with the one that made the biggest news surrounding the Leafs this week. Michael Bunting and Sheldon Keefe, their beef, what went down there in the game the other night, and what was the result of that? Is that something that we need to look it closer into as we move forward? So, comments came out here today, obviously, from reporters as they finally had an opportunity to talk to the two regarding the incident that took Leafs Twitter by storm over the weekend, as we saw Michael Bunting getting screamed at by Sheldon Keefe after he got into an altercation with Nashville Predators defenseman Cal Foote. As he came back to the bench, Keefe had some choice words for him, and Michael Bunting looked like he just had no interest in what was going on. So first and foremost, there was a quote here from Lance Hornby, who tweeted out saying, "Keefe and Bunting said not to read too much into a clip of the coach lecturing him on the bench Sunday when Bunting appeared to tune him out." And in quotes here from Bunting, "We've known each other a very long time," assuring he heard every word. And then a quote from Sheldon Keefe, "I give players a lot of leeway." So, I mean, obviously the most important thing here that we're going to see from Keefe, as we will address some more of the Bunting comments shortly, is that he's saying, "I give the players a lot of leeway." I think that this is one thing that people, especially on Twitter, especially on social media, are maybe a little bit more sensitive to today than they were in years past. There are stories of Ken Hitchcock. He used to scream at players, and he was trying to get them to scream back. As soon as they would scream back, they would show intensity. They would show that he would realize, okay, I've got the most out of this player. He put them right back out on the ice and get them to go back because he knew how to get into a player's grill, how to get them going, what brings the best out of them. Coaches know and understand players. They understand guys and what gets them going, what buttons to push, what they can and cannot say to guys, especially in certain situations, in order to make sure that they can get the most out of that player. Now, obviously, as we'll get into here in this next part, David Alter talking to Michael Bunting today says Michael Bunting on the conversation between he and Sheldon Keefe on the bench in Nashville. Now, I think this is an important part to go off of what I was just saying. I'll leave that between Keefer and I, but what I will say is we have a good relationship. We've known each other for a long time. There's not much to really say there. He's one of the reasons I signed here. I'll leave it at that. Look, I think this just goes along to what I was saying, and I just wanted to tie those two in together, where Keefe saying he gives players leeway. He probably understands Bunting's tendencies, the way he is or isn't going to react. Maybe he knows that there's going to be certain players that will turn around and yell at him. Maybe he knows there's players who will look at him, nod, and acknowledge, and then they're going to go out and they're going to play better. Maybe he knows that a guy like Michael Bunting is going to go out there. He's going to do that crap. Keefe's going to yell at him. He's going to not look at him, not pay attention to him on the bench. But then you know what Michael Bunting's going to do? He's going to go out there and he's going to play like Michael Bunting should immediately following the incident. Sheldon Keefe and Michael Bunting's relationship dates back to OHL hockey when Kyle Dubas, Sheldon Keefe, and Michael Bunting were all together with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. Sheldon Keefe was his coach there, and as Michael Bunting says, Sheldon Keefe was one of the reasons that Michael Bunting wanted to come to the Toronto Maple Leafs. Look, Sheldon Keefe found the way to get the absolute best out of Michael Bunting last season. Even looking at him this year, a 20-goal scorer here again, he's obviously finding ways to bring the best out of this guy in terms of making him a quality NHL player. He's likely going to be one of the guys who's going to recognize earlier than other people little dips in his game or him slipping into certain patterns and try to break that before it gets to a point of being too serious or too detrimental to the team's success. So ultimately, what I'm looking at here is a situation where Sheldon Keefe probably knows Michael Bunting and his tendencies and his reactions as a player better than anybody else. If Sheldon Keefe is saying, don't look too much into this, Michael Bunting saying, don't look too much into this, we've known each other for a long time, he's one of the reasons I came here, I think we're probably okay in terms of how is their relationship. I talked about in the post-game after that one that it was slightly concerning to me because the energy that's reciprocated back to Keefe in a time where fans are in a rocky place with Sheldon Keefe, it's going to be concerning. And it was to me because I was in a place of losing a little bit of faith in Sheldon Keefe. And if it looks like a guy who's known you for a long time has no interest in what you have to say, it felt like something to me that could permeate throughout the rest of the group and be like, oh, this guy who's been around him for so long doesn't care, doesn't respect what he has to say. Why would we? We're losing. The message is being lost on us. We don't care what he has to say because this guy doesn't. And then it can just spread throughout the rest of the group. That was concerning to me. But you know what? I'm going to be honest here. Looking back on these comments, realizing and remembering that they did play together or they did work together during their time in OHL hockey, and Bunting saying he's one of the reasons that I signed here in Toronto, it's probably a slight overreaction by myself and looking at things a little too closely there, when in reality, Keefe probably does know how Bunting's going to react in that situation, and Bunting not responding to him in a yes sir, nod my head, okay, you're right type of response. Keefe probably expected that. He probably knew that that was the case coming back. So maybe this isn't something that we have to look too much into, but I can guarantee you one thing. It's going to be something that we continue to look at moving forward. How is Bunting going to react to things? How does Keefe deploy him? What lines does he put him on? Because we've seen Bunting moving up and down the lineup here over the last little while. So it'll be interesting to track moving forward. But in terms of how this one went, I don't think it's too much to sit here and say, oh my God, things are a huge problem in Toronto, especially with this coach and his relationship with the players. The other thing I want to remind people, and it's obviously here, okay, now maybe we're grasping for straws, but just going to throw this out there. The Leafs have done those series where they get asked personal questions and they sit down and do one-on-ones, or they ask players things about the team and which player does this the most, which player is the best at that, whatever it is. Well, when the Leafs players were asked who is the coach's favorite player, they pretty much unanimously said Michael Bunting was Sheldon Keefe's favorite player. They all picked Michael Bunting, including Nylander, Gio, Tavares. These are guys who are leaders on this team, well-respected players on this team. Tavares even went as far to say it's a love-hate relationship, but mostly love, between the two of them, picking Bunting as Keefe's favorite player. So the players on the team obviously are going to understand the relationship that's there. They probably know how Bunting is going to react in that situation. They also probably know how Keefe was going to feel about what Bunting did anyways. So hand up by myself, maybe a bit of an overreaction the other day. I do still stand that, hey, I don't necessarily know how much I'm trusting Sheldon Keefe going into these playoffs. He's made some weird, interesting decisions. He's had some overreactions to things and had some really interesting comments in the media. Nonetheless, this specific relationship, I don't think it's too much to worry about, and I think we are still going to see the Michael Bunting that we know and love as Leafs fans moving forward, maybe just to a more tame amount so that he doesn't go over the edge and cause problems for this Leafs team. Maybe that's what Keefe is really trying to get at here in all of this. Second thing we want to talk about in this video, breaking news here today, or it's news here. I don't know if it's breaking or anything like that, but news here today out of Leafs camp in regards to Noel Acciairi and some new lineups that we're going to be running with as it goes forward. So first and foremost, the first thing that we were seeing the other day is that, today is that Noel Acciairi will not be playing in the game on Wednesday. He's not going to be playing due to an undisclosed injury that he suffered in the game against Nashville. Now, over the weekend, we did see him get beat up a little bit on his hands. I believe he took a puck to the hand, then he got slashed in the hand, so get a little beat up there. this might just be more of a precautionary thing than anything. Maybe his hand is swollen. It doesn't feel that great. We also don't know for sure that it is his hand. It could be something else. I mean, he did suffer the head injury a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So maybe they're just kind of sitting here saying, all right, we'll hold you out of the lineup a little bit, get you some rest, give you a day off, then we'll pump you back in. The other thing, Ryan O'Reilly did practice on the ice, but he was on the ice before the team here today, so it doesn't look like he'll go, and the team will go to 11-7 going on the game on Wednesday with Timothy Liljegren slotting in. 11-7, I think traditionally in years past, we would have looked and gone, what the hell is going on? Now, as it is right now, this is something that we are used to. We've seen this team go 11-7 time and time again. It's become something that is being very discussed amongst Leafs fans in terms of, why are we doing this? Why is this happening? Why does he keep going back to this? Well, at this point, if this is your only option, it is what it is. You deal with it, you move forward, you get through the game, and I think all will be well after the fact. So that is where we're at. Noel Acciari out with an undisclosed injury. I know that I'm not able to bring too much information to you guys. I apologize, but reality of the situation is I don't think this is something we have to look into too much. I think they're probably holding him out for some more precautionary stuff. This is now back-to-back weekends that Acciari's got banged up. Let him rest. You got 9 games until the playoffs. You have a game on Wednesday, then you don't play again until Saturday. This is a full week here, essentially, of rest time out of games. Maybe we see him back on the ice tomorrow, on the ice Thursday, then he plays Saturday. Who knows? But as of right now, I don't think it's too much to panic. And as we know, Samsonov back in the lineup, returns from having his child. So congratulations to Samsonov. Exciting news for him. I'm sure he's going to be in a happy headspace coming back here. He's got a new kid. Maybe he's a little tired, but it's been a couple days since the child was born. So maybe it's settled down for him a little bit. Maybe he's getting a little bit more rest. We'll see what happens moving forward. But Leafs fans, thank you guys so much for tuning in here. As you can see, scrolling across the screen, we have the list of our channel members. If you are interested in becoming a channel member and getting access to the new emojis that we've added into the chat for the live chats or for commenting on videos, you can head over to the Leafs Digest main page to do so there. You click on join to join as a channel member. There are different tiers. We've talked about what we're going to try to incorporate for the different levels of tiers, including maybe a playoff bracket, as well as a potential fantasy hockey pool for next season. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure to check out the channel memberships. But most importantly, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button. About 50% of our viewers right now don't subscribe to the Leafs Digest channel, so please make sure to do so. And final reminder, if you are looking for a new or a used car, please make sure to go over to check out the Queensway Automotive Group. You can find the link in the description of this video. New, used cars, different types of vehicles. You're looking for just a car guy in general. You're looking for someone who can help you with repairs or ask questions to, or say, how can I fix this? What should I be looking for? How can you help me sell my car? Those are the guys to do it. So go over and check out the Queensway Automotive Group. Link in the description takes you to a Leafs Digest specific landing page. But Leafs fans, all in all, don't look too much into the Bunting Keefe saga. I think as of right now, it's not too big of an issue. If something like this continues, then maybe we're going to come here and say, all right, we've got a problem now. But as of this moment right now, I don't think it's that too big of a deal. And with the Noel Acciari thing, again, undisclosed injury, but we didn't see him removed for anything serious over the weekend. I think this is more precautionary than anything, especially looking at the schedule. You have one game during the weekdays of this week, and then in Saturday, Sunday games. Give him some extra rest, run it back with 11-7. Liljegren gets back into this lineup, give him some minutes, see how he responds here. Not too big of a deal, not something we aren't used to seeing out of this Leafs team over the last little while. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on everything discussed in this video, and most importantly, keep believing.